Hey guys, so we're going to have Drawing and Painting 2 and Drawing and Painting 3 in here together. You guys will have a few different parameters as we move forward, but for some of this it might be pretty similar or the same. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is I want you to get a piece of paper and I want you to fold it or crumple it up. I'm just going to crumple mine up. Then, don't crumple it so tight that it's just filled with teeny lines, but then if I'm in Drawing and Painting 2, I'm going to mostly flatten it out so it's pretty flat. If I'm in Drawing and Painting 3, I might open it up a little bit, but I might leave it more dimensional like this. So that it's not completely flat, it still has a lot of shape. If I was to put it on the table, it definitely has dimension that way. If you want to level up, you could write, for Drawing and Painting 2, you guys could write 5 words or less on the paper. So I'm going to write, today will be great. That's 4 words. Wrote it in red pen. Today will be great. We'll see. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. But my message is that maybe it's not great because the paper's crumpled. Then I can open it up so that I can read it, but it's still not perfect. Okay? Kind of making a commentary on the day not being great. If you're in Drawing and Painting 3 and you're looking to level up, you could try using lined notebook paper with the blue and the red lines. And you could use that to try and level up. Once I've got my crumpled up thing done and how I want it, now I'm going to take a picture of it. And I want to think about when I take the picture. I don't want to just be like, oh, take a picture. I want to think about how can I make this interesting. Most of you are familiar with the rule of thirds. You could get down at it from a different angle, do something more unique. Think about how I can compose the picture. Here's one I just took from straight down. Now, look at all that empty space I have on either side by turning it horizontally. It'd be much better if I cropped that out and changed it to a vertical orientation. Got much less wasted space on the side. But it's still pretty boring. I could turn it and create some interesting triangles of negative space around the sides, zoom in on it, so some of it's cropped or going out of the frame. That's that angle from up on the side. I turned it and shot across it real low from the side. Might lift it up, shoot down on it to kind of show more of the perspective of it. So there's a lot of things you could do. Right now I want you guys to go and crumple your paper, fold it up, crumple it up, open it back up, and take a picture that you can draw from. Don't forget, if you're in 3, don't flatten it all the way down. Keep it somewhat dimensional. So now I've got to draw what I took a picture of. And if I've got this picture here and I printed it, it's not that hard because I'm going to literally go off the exact same size. And I could kind of look for these triangles that are created. Building out of these triangles. And I can actually use the proportion of this paper onto this paper, and that'll help me. And I'm going to start with the biggest shape. And then I could kind of just see, like, did it line up? Well, is it, did this line up with that? And I could make adjustments to it based off of some of that information if I wanted to. So it did look like this one here bothered me the most. But if I'm on my phone, a lot of you will probably be taking pictures from your phone. First, when I'm looking at my phone, and my picture's horizontal, so I've got all this wasted screen here and here, I'm going to actually turn it so that it's horizontal, and that way I have the most screen to work with. Now, I could get the general proportions by measuring this, and then measuring against this and seeing that it's about 80% high off that width. So then if I was to get the width of the whole thing, this is 1 unit of width, I could actually figure that 80% is about that's not enough. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So 80% is at about here. So I could use this mark to help figure out what the height should be. Oops. That was silly. So I'm going to use this and this to figure out the height. So that's the 80%, and then this is 100%. So I've got like 1 to 0.8 is the proportion that I kind of came up with. And that means that my whole drawing is going to kind of fit in that shape. That's the big shape. I'm not too worried about the details or all that stuff. I just know my whole drawing is going to fit within that shape. And then I could break it down further. I could say about 1/4 of the way is where this point touches the bottom. Pay attention to these angles. I could think about what angle that is there. Have it come back here. Just roughing in the biggest shapes first. And this kind of lines up with that. I can see that this lines up just a little to the side here. So that's kind of like where that dent goes. And then, let's say probably halfway is about there. So at about halfway, that's when my arc is going to come through that and drop down. Look where this lines up with this. Use that as a tool. Think about what shape is here. What is this shape doing? How's that height line up? Maybe that height should be up more. And I'm drawing pretty dark because it's hard to see for you on the camera if I don't. But you definitely want to be drawing light at this point. Okay, and then I could go through, do some big erasing. Some of this big stuff. I don't have a drawing eraser here, so that was a total mistake. I just totally wrecked the paper. Since it's a warm-up exercise, I'm not going to be too stressed about it. I'm just going to continue wrecking the paper with that eraser. I should be using like the Mars eraser, that white plastic eraser. This is all negative space here, so I can get rid of this. This was bad. Okay. So I've got like the big overall shape, but then within the shapes I've got shapes. So then I've got like here, I've got this big shadow shape. And I'm thinking about how that relates. And so I'm going to start just kind of bulking in some of these bigger overall shapes. This will be my next. So first I'm kind of dealing with the whole thing as one big shape. Now I'm starting to get into the big movements within the shapes. And I should always be working like this. I should be always thinking about the parts, the bigger parts, and then how those become smaller and smaller and break off more and more as I go. Wouldn't be terrible if I had a blending stomp right now. So now I've got the big shapes. I'm going to start going into these medium shapes here. How are these working? If I don't have a blending stomp at home, I can always take a paper and twist it up in some form, and I can use that as like a blender. I could use my finger, but my finger will add oils to the situation, and those oils will make the graphite actually stick to the paper. Long term, that'll make it harder for me to erase or make changes, especially if I have this garbage eraser. Looking at Alright, so I actually just decided to go get my actual art stuff. See if maybe I can get some of this pink stuff off. Probably not. Okay. So, not really. Didn't really get it off. Makes me want to like take this eraser out and throw it in the trash, but I'm not going to do that right now. So I'm going to continue going through this thing, trying to break it down into smaller and smaller pieces. You notice I actually erased all my lines because in the end, I don't really want to have a line drawing. I want to have a value drawing, a drawing that's made up of light and dark parts that create shapes And those shapes create the volume of the object that I'm drawing. This exercise is meant for me to just kind of forget about drawing a thing that I understand and know how it's made, and to really just focus on light and shadow and shapes, and how can I use those things to make a convincing but complex object with lots of different surfaces and planes and details. Alright, so I'm going to just keep building like this, starting from big to small, constantly revising. You could see I kind of changed the whole shape here. This was way over here, and then I moved it. This was all shaded, but now it's light in here. So continue to build this up until you get the whole thing done and rendered in a nice, realistic manner, the best you can. Try really hard. A level up, there's only a level up for drawing and painting 3. That is to try and incorporate some color. Don't use the whole thing, don't do the whole thing with colored pencil, but say I used a blue and red line notebook paper, I might just do the lines in blue and red and do the rest of it all in graphite, okay? Or here I've got a little word here, it says great, it kind of looks like it says goat, but I might do that in colored pencil, or I might even use an ink pen to do that. Though usually adding ink in to a graphite drawing will make it look unrealistic and it'll stand out. It would be better to do it with the colored pencil probably.